morning guys, how you doing? It is Thursday morning and I'm glad I went to work yesterday and started getting myself back into the routine because I did not have my work head on at all after going away for 3 days and then doing some stuff at home. So yeah, I had a bit of time off and I came down with a bit of a chill from camping, anyway, and having a drink out late at night in the field, all that stuff, don't worry about that, but yeah, we're back in it. So yeah, I did the job yesterday, which was a single sort of ceiling, and then I've had this booked in, which I forgot about, and maybe I'll tell you how I covered it. I'll get in there on target as to when I said I would do it, and it is a little beaut, I've got to admit. Luckily, I have got my sense of humour back today, so maybe we can fit a few jokes in this video. But let's have a look at what we got going on. I had to go and get materials this morning. Absolutely pandemonium down at Wicks, where I normally get, because Wicks have got no plaster at all. I've seen about 7 or 8 plasterers all out trying to get plaster, because we did have home base here, but that closed down. That used to be like a last resort to go and get some plaster. The Wicks place where we are, it's their racking is broken, so they've got no plaster at all. I was a little bit worried that there was going to be some sort of plaster shortage or something, because they've been stuck for plastering there for ages, and I see 2 or 3 plasters going in there. So then I had to go over the road to Travis, and if I was 2 minutes late, I wouldn't have got any plaster. I managed just to get the last bags before another 3 or 4 plasterers turned up looking for plaster. So yeah, we've got the materials to do it by the skin of our teeth. Now let's have a look what is going on here now. All sorts of stuff we got. I've advised the customer here to get a week sort of PVA over everything, at least the night before, to try and stabilise up anything that's loose. He's given the ceiling a good scrape, which is a broken leather, and quite a lot of the paint's come off, and it's gone in back into the artex. That is one of the reasons why I wanted him to do that, because the PVA's had time to really get deep into that dusty artex and like have all night to cure and stabilise all through the depth of it. So we've got a nice sound surface to go over. Now we've got to address things like this. See, this is a popping nail head. You can probably see that if I push. Look at that moving. So we're going to have to get some screws in some of these to try and stabilise this up a bit. I'll get to this wall in a minute. It's all over the place. I need to get my rules out. Look at all these different levels. This is the kitchen, by the way. And then let's have a look at this thing we got going on here. A rather unique sort of double arch thing going on. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do here, but you can see the lines here aren't very good and they're not very regulated as a consistent curve, and it's a little bit messy in here and stuff. So this will be where the stairs go up, and that'll be the underside of the stairs, which are through here. There's the stairs. So first things first, I think we need to get some screws in this ceiling and get some scrims up where they need to be. I don't know why that is like that. There's a whole deficit. I'm gonna get you guys up there. Look, what's going on there? Why is that so thick? And also looking at it, something seems off here. It's either that door frame or the ceiling is off. And the same as this window, something looks off. We'll address that. Okay, here, look, this is quite a bad nail head pop in here. Look, see? This is what I tend to do, is get a little drywall, because that's got to be on a joist, right? Look at that, the bounce in that. That will create a nail head popping out when people start walking around. The board's allowed to vibrate up and down, but that nail is in the joist, so I can only assume they're going to go this way. So we're going to get some drywalls in, pull that up, nip it, and get that to sit securely again to try and reduce any bounce. This is why they don't tack them up anymore. So look, this is what we need to be careful on jobs like this, because, you know, where it's all over the place, it's a real can of worms. So this is the original plastering, look. This is the old sand and cement. This would be the old skim coat. And look, this has been skimmed over before, but look how easy that's popping off. Now you need to be careful when you're doing this sort of thing, because you can go all around the room and do this. Basically, it's a bit of a judgment. If it comes off and like literally just falls off, then ideally it needs to come off. And there, it's putting up a little bit of resistance. We should be good there. So there we go. I'll just say that again because it was very noisy just then. Basically, if I can get it off with my bare hands, that's normally an indication it needs to come off. You have to be careful because you can just keep going and going and going, and every time you pop a bit, it ruptures the next bit, ruptures the next bit. Hopefully, that's the only bit on this wall, but I mean, look at it. It is in a right state. I really can't work out exactly what's been going on here. It's been plastered, plastered, plastered again. I just noticed actually this ceiling has been over-tacked. That's why I was having trouble getting the screws up through, because I like to get through 2 layers. And it looks like this old one has been boarded, then plastered, then artexed, and then they've boarded it again and then artexed straight over it. Okay, so even though these walls have already been PVA'd with a weak solution, I am going to fly over the whole thing again with my PVA. Now, we are using PVA. You can use SBR, you can use grits, but I am using PVA. I'm not going to go into one why. There's loads of other videos on the playlist explaining why I tend to use PVA more than anything else. But we can see, look, changing of colour. I PVA'd this, I haven't PVA'd this, and this is bare plaster. So this is really pulling in and going into this dry porous area. Here we got painted areas where there's no suction at all. So this is what we're doing. We are killing the suction on here, and we're bringing all the suction levels all kind of like in line with each other, so the whole wall goes off and consistently, if you like, rather than a bit being pulled off because of the high suction and the moisture being ripped out of it, this bit hanging around because there's no suction on it. So we're bringing it all in line, really, just killing suction and just priming the wall ready to be plastered. Okay, fluffy roller, ideal for these textured uneven surfaces. Start at the bottom, create that little wave on top. You see that just pulling through, and that should give us a nice consistent coverage. Quite nasty edges here where that foam that's been smeared in there. Now our plaster needs to come and hit that, and we don't want to get that. We need to clean this up. And it looks like it's got drips from PVA down it. We don't want to scratch the doors out, so just be gentle and cut ourselves a nice crisp edge. And we can always scrim, like we have done there, up to the actual door frame there to try and reduce any cracking. But of course it really does need like a flexible sort of silicone or a corking in there, because every time the door opens and shuts, which is locked, of course you get a certain amount of vibration, and that will cause a little crack unless there's something flexible like a little shock absorber just to absorb that little bit of vibration. But yeah, look, we need to clean all this up. Another thing that just takes a bit of time. There we go, cleaned up and scrimmed up, and like I say, as you start prepping up the stuff, you start learning the room. Look what's going on here, I didn't notice that before. Another good, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 mil depth there that needs making up on both sides. I can only assume, because there's some sort of adhesive here, that there must have been some sort of panelling and it's been plastered down to before. So look, just coming in through, you can actually see it, but just stuck my head in there. Look at this, this is all right mess up here. Look at all this. Oh, I'm gonna have to sort that out. I don't know why that bit of wood's there. Look at that. Okay, same deal with this window here. Cleaned up and scrimmed up. So, look, learning the room, something else I've just noticed. These tiles have been plastered over. it looks like it's just this section. It seems to be quite solid, and I know there's a unit going to go over all of that, so I'm more concerned. So yeah, I'm more concerned when they start drilling things through there. Well, those people have drilled through it, but yeah. What can we do? Let's go over it again. It all seems quite solid. I have given it a test, so I don't know what they put on there to prep that, but like I say, it's all having units over that area anyway, and that's the only place in the room that looks like it has been tiled and been plastered over. Looks like that little bit up there, it looks like it's part of the null post, so it's about 5 mil, so we're just trimming it off. I started it off with the multi-tool, got up there as far as I could, height-wise, and then just to finish off, a good old-fashioned hammer and chisel, just to trim that off. Yeah, it's a lot better, it's kind of flush, we can make a decent job of that. Okay, so now we've scrimmed up and PVA'd everything up, we can start turning our attention to this wall over here. So I've got a level here, this is the highest point. Let's have a look at that. Multi-finish isn't going to get that, is it? And then also, going in this direction, look, that's flying away from the internal, coming out there. So that's all going to need straightening up with rules. It's not bad for plumb, to be honest with you. It's not too bad, this direction on this bit. So at least we got this kind of square to come off and use that as our guide to try and get some sort of flatness to this. And then of course there's this tricky bit up here that we need to mess around with, which is quite complicated. And now look, there's Derby, look at the gaps we got going on underneath here. I need to kind of straighten it up to make that look half decent when it catches your eye as you walk into the room. It's like this side. Fixed, just with 2 hands. Yeah, see, it's not too bad that way. Yeah, we're good that way. It's this. That is the issue. Look at all this. And if that edge is going to look nice at all, better sit on the top. Right. It's a little bit tricky now where to start when you've got a job like this, but there we go. Might as well just use that wall for now. Let's do it. Products we are using is Thistle hardwall for medium to high suction backgrounds. Now we're using this rather than bonding because this is designed to be messed around with and played with, whereas bonding is more for renovation. Plus this takes a lot longer to go off, so I don't think we're going to get it set today. Now you could like board over all this, but we're a little bit tight for distance, so this is where things like floating out comes in handy, because you know, to board you'd have to like get over the highest point, then you'd have a little bit of a gap of adhesive, then your 12.5mm board, so you'd be like right out here over the whole wall if we tried to bond this. Board this out with dot and dab. So this is why we're going to try and save a little bit of space, and floating things and rolling things off allows us to be able to cover, you know, change the depth as needed. Some areas are really thick, some areas kind of like need feathering out, so that is why we are doing a thing called floating. see we're working from this side to this side, and I'm working into where I've already plastered. I find it's easier to regulate your depth, and you tend to drop less, I find. Because we're trying to get in between these two wires that are sticking out, and then you see the alpha wing units go in. So you need to get quite a snap on there and really push it in so that it gets a good grip onto the surface that you're plastering. And then the trowel I'm using is quite large. 5. You could probably get anything else out. And I'm floating it tends to use smaller, less strain on your wrist. So I'll get it on a big trap. But since it's such a small area, more fiddly, that's what I'm using. So we've got an area on, kind of smooth it out and kind of like get rid of any trail marks in there, and hopefully we shouldn't be far off the depth that we require. Start making this all flat. Right, let's see how we are doing with the rule. Floating, you're better off using a stiffer brush. This is just an old pasting brush. Always use nice brushes, it will just ruin it. So using this bit of wool, as I've got, use that. Push too hard. This is how many people put it on and then take it all straight back off again. Okay, let's have a look what's going on. Okay, so we haven't been too bad. Look, we've got some misses here, and you can see here this is where the rule has touched. So if I just grab my rule here again, see we were pretty close, we're not too far off. So what we need to do is take our hawk and trowel and just fill up these holes and rule it again. That's that little angle done there. zigzag action, puts less drag. You come down this way, you can be scooping in and out. You come down in a zigzag, like that say. It just puts less drag on the material. It just makes things easier to get straight up. Okay, crossing here, we're just filling this deficit here. I don't know what that is, must have been a bit of a wood or something going on. It's all around here as well. And there's this down here we need to fill. Look at that, that's a great big hole. Okay, so I did give this a little test and it has been XMET, expanded metal lathe is in it, so they have done it properly. I just made a little hole and I could see the lathe, but it looks like they've free-handed it in. Now there is a trick you can do with bits of hardboard and bend it around and do the sides and everything, but considering we was almost there, I free-handed it myself with the 20x5 and used the straightness of that. Just coming in and just looking at it with your eye and just trying to get a nice consistent curve where it was out and trim the corners. So it's still very wet at the moment, so as you can see, like, it's still very wet, so I'm going to need to let this pick up and then I can be a little bit rougher with it and start trimming up these corners, these little rough bits here and stuff, and start getting some beads over it. But yeah, I'm quite happy there's XMET there and it's just thick plaster, so when we get the beads, the specific stop beads that we got for it, which are going to run down here and run around here, and then we're going to run them into regular angle beads. I'm quite happy that we are going to get a purchase with some staples, so let's see how that goes. Got a coat around everything else, everything's pretty wet. I had a little bit left over, so just used it up where I thought it might be useful. So, looks like we are done with the hardwall. Okay, so this hardwall has firmed up a bit and it's time to sort them out. We're going to give them some key. Here we've got hard plastic float, quite a large one, and we've got some screws in the end which protrude just out slightly to create a bit of key.
Don't you have makeup in?
Yeah, just plaster, mainly.
Oh, that's how you make it easy.
Yeah. Is this live up here?
No.
Okay, so everything has had a devil float and is okay to be left alone. Now to pick up and go proper hard and set. Now in the interest of getting this room done, I've got 2 days to do this. I still need to put the beads up and then I need to set as well. I'm thinking I might get this ceiling on with some multi-finish now because it's quite a small ceiling. And then whilst I'm waiting for that to go off, and whilst that's happening, we'll start sticking the beads up, and then hopefully tomorrow when we get in here, we'll have a good chance of finishing the room. I'm going to guess about a bag of multi-finish for this room. I want to get it quite accurate because I haven't really got anywhere else for it to go until I get some beads up. You know, every wall's either got some hard wall on it or needs a bead. So the ceiling is the only thing that's kind of ready to do. And I can't sit over this hard wall at the moment because it's still too wet. I might be able to get this and this on as well. It doesn't seem to be affected by anything. So yeah, it's just the ceiling we can really hit. Otherwise, everything else still needs work before it can be plastered. Okay, there's our multi-finish mixed up, and as per usual for going over such a textured surface, we're going in chubby. thick, and we've had to make some sporadic trail marks because the ceiling's all over the place. God, when aren't they? I've got this left over in the bucket, so it looks like it is going to be enough to get this on in the back here. I'll take it out as much awkward as I can, and it's handy, isn't it? 20-inch trowel fits in there quite nicely. Okay, so we're starting to put the beads up. Now what was catching my eye earlier is the back of this reveal here. It's this that's out a little bit. This isn't too bad, this is pretty good. It's pretty parallel with the ceiling and it's parallel with the frame of the window, which is level. I did check it, but yeah, it's this back end is bending around a little bit, so when we come to plaster that, because we've already sniffed that out, we'll adjust it. See, like as we're coming on, it's just dipping down. It's just throwing that off. Okay, so beads have gone up with tin snips, through them like so, and more often than not, I'm using staples, which are just good enough to hold it in place. And if they don't go in, because this is going over old plaster and there's another bead behind it on here, I'll just sit home with the hammer. If you are having trouble with it not sitting properly, there's nothing stopping you put a bit of scrim either side of it, and you'll be surprised how solid that holds it, especially if you PVA them afters as well. You can always nail them up. On here's probably a little bit more difficult because there's beads in there, or you can stick them up with a bit of multi-finish or something, but this is the way I'm generally doing them more often than not. Okay, so we've got some of the beads up and I'm just checking this ceiling now. Remember, when you're going over something quite thick like this, we need to let this first coat pick up quite a bit to stop this pattern bleeding through where it's sagging underneath its own weight. So once it's picked up, it will stop sagging. We're almost there. I'd say it's probably ready to put the second coat on it. This hardwall, as I say, it does sit around for a while. I want to get my stop beads on here, but it's still really too wet to tackle. So yeah, let's get this ceiling second coated. I've left what's left over from the first coat, and this is still workable, so I'm going to wash this round into the fresh water, and that's going to allow the new coat to pick up that a little bit faster because it's got the properties from the first coat. It's going to send it off a little bit faster. Now remember, we knocked up a whole bag, but we went on really thick and we got this as well, so we're probably going to get away with something like a quarter of a bag, I'd say, because you know, a lot of the quantity was taken up in the depth of this into the pattern, so all we need to do is get a nice tight coat over the top. We took time to flatten in this first coat, which means we will get a nice tight regulated coat for the second coat, which is what you want really. It's the polishing up coat you want. I always like to get the flatness and everything done in the first coat. Okay, second coat, nowhere near as much and a little bit wetter. Okay, so that second coat has gone on much nicer. It's only just been put on, it has been flattened in, and we got that as well. It's quite a stark colour difference again. I was mentioning it in one of the videos the other day. It probably depends on what quarry it comes from, but sometimes the multi-finish is quite a light pink, and sometimes it's a bit of a darker, more grainy one. The first coat was a light one, this second coat has gone on from another bag and it's a bit more grainy, so it's just one of those, isn't it? I've got this much left on my hook and a little bit left in the bucket. I dare say might just be enough to get this two bits of these two sides of this boxing going in, and there's going to be an ample suction on this as well to catch up with the ceiling and these walls, so yeah, I think we'll just nip that off. And I'd opt for the plasterboard rather than these reveals, because these reveals have hardly got any suction, so these are going to hang around a lot more. I want these to pull in, so that's why I'm going for that. And of course it just takes that out of the equation, and there's one less thing to mess around with tomorrow. Okay, so that's on, and I had a little bit left over just to hold this. I just fed a little bit into this bottom bead just because I had it, and might as well put it somewhere, and that's going to help hold that. There's a little bit deep on this corner if you notice, so I've kind of dubbed it out a little bit, and that'll hold that steady because there was a tiny little bit of play on that. I was having trouble getting fixings, so that will hold that still. Right, let's get in, and I think we're going to flatten the ceiling in and then start paying some attention to these beads again. Oh, it's starting to go. Come on, hardwall, look, I can still push my fingers in it. Okay, so let's say this first wet brush, and this is residue I'm getting out. It's still quite grainy and usable. You can use it to fill stuff. We're going to use it to put the second coat on this bit of boxing, so we are doubly cheating. Okay, whilst we're waiting for the ceiling, we can start trimming up this hardwall, which has picked up quite a bit, I must say. Start cutting out, sorting out these corners to be able to take a stop bead. Okay, here's our stop bead. We've roughly cut it to size where it needs to be. Now, if I pin this in here, like you can see, it's kind of forming its angle. It can be quite difficult to get measurement. Now, by having this little bit of overhang on this side, I can see exactly where I need to trim it. Let's get that in there. It's handy that the curve has been formed pretty well already, and then we took the time to freehand it in and get it as accurate as we could. So now if I just trim this here, give me my marker, where I need to be. Okay. Don't warp that in too much. Right, I might as well grab my stapler whilst we're here. And we want it to overhang slightly. So I'm kind of in position there. I've got a nice bit of overhang. Let's see if these staples hold it. One's in there. One down here. Yeah, that makes it to be working pretty good. Until we run out of staples, that is. There we go, we got the first one up, and as you can see it just slips over slightly. There's a tiny little bit of a gap there, which is fine. If we come around this side, look, we can see it straight. And that curve is much more consistent. That's exactly why I wanted to use one of these stop beads, these galvanized ones, because they're flexible enough to take this sort of curve, but they're rigid enough to give a nice even curve as long as you don't overdo it. Let's see how we work out on this one, because this one's a little bit tighter, but I think it'd be okay. There are some other sort of plastic beads which will do curves and stuff. They're a little bit too forgiving, a little bit too flexible, and you'd probably have to do something, make sure you get it pretty much bang on before you put those beads on. But here, as you can see, we've been able to freehand the plaster, get it close enough, and then just get this bead here to do the rest of the work. Now, all we need to do is get the other one on here, which I have pre-cut already. And hopefully they're going to sit parallel. It's not going to look too bad, to be honest with you. If I come up here, look, I can cast the eye, look, it's pretty parallel already. With this edge, matching up with this edge. Nothing is really sticking out too much. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Okay, yeah, it's not looking too bad. The only thing I did have to do is pull this side out a little bit further. You can see we've got, you can see it was getting narrower. So this was the widest point here, and I can only come out that far because I'm just catching it there. So I measured this, it's about 11.5 centimeters, and we was losing almost a centimeter on here, so that's why I've pulled this side out. So this is parallel all the way down. And it's getting there. It's looking good. Let's get back over here and have a look. Yeah, both of those lines are pretty good. Okay, so all the while we're messing around with these beads, remember this ceiling is going off. I've given it another trowel with a 20 by 5 carbon steel, and now it's time to switch to this stainless flexible trowel and start shining this up before we can get back and start tackling these beads. This angle is much more tricky. So what I am doing is I am getting bead to start forming the angle we want. Now we're probably going to have to lose this last bit because we won't be able to get the grip to get the last bit round. So this bit of bead is far longer than we need it. It might do both sides. But just on the edge of this bucket here, look, I'm just going to start easing it round. So we don't want to kink in there. Okay, nice and slowly. I'm just using the rim of the bucket there. a bit of tension. Okay, and we're starting to get the curve going, yeah? So then once we've got it there, we can just move on again. Move ourselves round. And hopefully, this bucket is going to be close enough for us to be able to get this bead on those other curves. As I say, if I'm going to do the whole bit, I'm going to trim this whole thing round and maybe we'll get both sides out, and then for the actual real corners we'll use a proper stop bead, angle bead. But you can see it's working, yeah? So as you can see, there's our bead. And if we hold it up here, I need 2 hands to do it. You can see it's close enough to make it. Right, let's get this thing stapled up. Okay, hopefully I've got this set up on the tripod pretty good. So you can see what we're doing. We'll come to this side and we'll come and we'll try and get flush with this, so that's at a 90 degree. Remember, we don't need all of this, we only need to come to the curve. So this is where we're on the straight now, so if I trim this off at that point, I'll give it just a little bit more, just for luck, another 10 mil or so. Okay, here's our bit. Keep this one flush so that it comes out. A tiny little bit of overhang we're going to need. Right, let's see if this staple starts holding it. Get a couple in there. A second. Now what I tend to do is at this point get this end here and push that up into position rather than try and, ping, ping, ping all the way. So we know we've got a nice consistent curve. It's moved a little bit. Come down this way. Right, let's get another one up here. Let's see if we can hold that still. I'll put the staple into the slot. There we go, one of the holes. I'll put the staple into the slot so the bead was able to slide there. So hopefully that's going to stop this from happening if I put pressure on this bottom bit. What's going on here? I've got a bit of a lump. I'm going to have to trim a bit of that off. It's a little bit uneven here, I'll trim that off. This is this bit here, sticking out a smidge off. Now, you can work things out like this, all mathematically and stuff. I haven't done an arch for ages. Straight from scratch. And like I said, we used to cut bits of hardboard in that and form the curve. They're not too bad. I haven't done one for ages. But every time we did do one, you could work it out perfectly with maths and stuff, and there's one mark there, that's exactly plumb, and blah, 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 and there's your mark the other side, so if I cut the bead at this height, then the curve should be perfect. Whenever you did that, it was never perfect. It always needed some adjustment to the eye. It just doesn't make no sense. But it just doesn't look right with the computer on. Again, sometimes, like Luke Skywalker, you have to use the force and turn the computer off and do what you feel is right. And in this case, I'm kind of feeling that ain't too bad. It's quite a nice consistent curve. It's a little bit difficult because sometimes you get a gap. You'll notice that there's gaps here. You think, well, that should be tucked in, but it's not, because if you remember, I had a curve here and a curve here, and then this area here was quite flat on the original. So I've kind of tried to pull these out a little bit and kind of meet it on the flat. So I'm not surprised there's a little gap here and there. But we didn't have to be that perfect. We only needed to be perfect enough. Right, so we've got that one done. So there's the offcut, and we'll go the other way. Okay, right, let's do it again. Okay, here's another little trick for you. So see what's happening there. It wants to curl away from the straight edge, but we need to come down to that straight edge, yeah? So, little trick is, I've trimmed it off and cut it back at a bit of an angle. But see here, look, you can see, what I've done is, where have I put it? With my hammer, just on this very little lip here, you see it? It's gonna give that a bit of a tap. Just flatten the last couple of mil off, and then see I've cut this bead here, the corner bead, which is going to go on like so. Now I've cut it a little bit longer. Now what I want this to do is, as I'm concentrating, come over, there we go, and just catch that last bit of bead. So when I pull that in, look, it's going to, see it wants to kick out. That's okay, that's just going to catch that last little bit. And as this bead pulls in, it's very, very, I'm sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing and film at the same time. That's going to pull that edge in. Okay, so same again this side. Managed to get it to pull it in. I've had to pull it out a little bit to try and keep this parallel. It's quite a bit fatter at the top than it is down here, so I've had to kind of try and pull these beads out a little bit to try and meet that. But other than that, I don't think we're looking too bad there at all. Right, now we've just got to deal with these fiddly little bits. Okay, on this one here, let's cut it into a right V. And when you do cut them, you will notice that it does warp the bead. This is why sometimes it's good to use a manufactured edge. But we can't do that here. So what I'm doing is just with the beads, just bending that back, just getting a bit of a curl on it because we need it to meet really nicely, and it kind of takes the sharp edge off. I'll show you what I mean in a sec, but yeah, we're just folding this all back so it doesn't warp outwards. Might take a couple of goes. Make sure you get it right. Get that little pinch there. Okay. Right, we're getting there. So there we go. That's the corner that we just rounded off and trimmed round. And it's all meeting up pretty good. This little bit here is just too small. I did use, no I haven't. I was thinking about using the machine cut, but I didn't. I'm gonna have to make this tiny little bit up here with the trowel. Where is my trowel? Just use this one since this is what we've got to hand. So what I'm gonna do is just come back here and bring it out, such and such. So yeah, just have to make that tiny little bit up. But other than that, that is that tricky one. I've got to get a bead on here and around this door, and I've got to get a bead on there, but they're easy, right? Compared to them, they are anyway. But yeah, I think it's gonna look all right. Certainly a lot better than it did. Corner that we made up earlier, had to float it out. See, that's where the old bead came to. And now we're able to get a new bead on there. Jump scare. So a little bit of pop trivia for you. You know the film Jaws? 1977? 77 or 79? Jaws with Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss. Do you remember the character called Ben Gardner, I think it was? Anyway, Ben Gardner was the guy when Brody and Hooper went out to go and see what that was on the radar. And it was Ben Gardner's boat. And then Hooper goes under the water, has a look, finds a shark tooth, and that's when Ben Gardner's face comes out with his eye missing from the hole in the boat. It's a little bit like that. I tend to find a little pointy trowel is ideal for doing these, because you can come out at the angle. Look out, it's going to happen, it's coming out. That one doesn't want to come out. Okay, so we have got to pretty much where I'd like to be at the end of the day, although it has taken a little bit longer. I had a little bit of trouble getting the materials this morning. Did I tell you about that? I can't remember if I did or not. I'll have to watch the video to find out. So yeah, we got the ceiling done and completed. We got all this floating done. I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to go, but yeah, we're all done and I'm happy with that. And we got all the beads up, and I'm quite happy how this has turned up as well. So yeah, the bonus is getting this little bit in here done. I'll clean the socket out and getting that little bit on there around that boxing. So I wanted to at least get all the floating done, get the beads up, get the ceiling on to have a chance to finish this tomorrow in some sort of area of comfortability. So still quite a lot of awkward stuff. I'm probably going to have to give this a PVA first thing in the morning because the suction's going to be up again, but it's not the end of the video. We'll call it a day. I've got to go and look at another job, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Morning guys, tyres looking good. It's Friday, let's go to work. Right, let's see what the traffic's like. Oh, you're going to stay up there. Traffic's looking good so far. What are we going to do first of all? First of all, we are going to trim back all this floating that we did yesterday. This was a trowel, taking off any protrusions like this we might have left. We used the devil float. Then I'm going to give it a coat of PVA all over it to kill the suction, because you can see it's starting to dry out in places, so we don't want that to draw the moisture out the setting coat too quickly. And then, I don't know, it's still quite a complicated room. I might get it in 2 hits, I don't know. I'm probably going to knock up a bag just to start off with, because it's so awkward in here. And I think it would be advantageous to make sure we get, in the first hit, these side parts of all these arches we got going on. So this side, this little bit in here, this bit in here, and this bit round here in the first hit, with the idea that it's going to start, by doing these sides, we're going to start holding these beads a lot firmer, and then on the second hit we can fill these inside bits, because especially on this one, which is a little bit more tricky, see there is a bit of a gap there, and if we try and do these both at the same time, see there is a bit of movement in there. So we'll trowel this side, and then if you try to put this on at the same time, it's going to be pushing it, and it's going to cause a little bit of upset around there until it starts holding it together. So I mean, we've got 2 hits, so we might as well break that up anyway. I mean, it can be done by all at the same time, can happen, but just to make life easy for ourselves. See, there's quite a bit of a gap behind there where it's formed its natural curve, and that's where I freehanded it and was slightly off. So yeah, it's all good. Right, let's get on and do that. Scrape the hardwall, PVA, and then knock up some plaster. Okay, so we knocked up 1 bag, bang on, and I've used every single bit of it, apart from that little bit. And what I have got on is this around here, and then I've got this inside here. As I mentioned before, in an effort to start holding these beads still, I had to get it in here. Get all this, try and hold this bead still. See, it's pushed through and it's bleeding out the bead. We start to make up this corner here. And then obviously I've had to get this one on to hold this bead still. And then, so that was all my tactical stuff. And then I looked in the bucket and thought, right, we might as well come through here. Got these two little bits on here. And then I looked in the bucket and I went, whoa, I've got enough of these reveals. I haven't done this window board area just yet, but the reveals are on. And I looked again and I thought, could we, should we? And we did. We got these reveals on as well. So I've got to admit, I am a little bit pushed here to get just one bag on with all that awkward stuff. It's surprising just how time consuming it is. All the while, I haven't used anything other than a 20x5 carbon steel trowel, apart from, I'm not sure what I've done with it, my little mini brickies trowel, little pointy trowel, just to get up in those corners inside that cupboard there. So what I'm probably going to do, because there is still quite a bit to be done with a second hit, is probably doable, but you know, I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more on and finishing on a really easy gauge. The problem is I don't want to push my luck too much with all this awkward stuff. Because I like to be in front of the set, you know, so you're in control of it. The moment you start pushing yourself a little bit hard, especially with all these awkward bits and pieces, you start losing it, and that's when your quality starts dropping. And in here, we have got a massive attention towards the quality. It's like every single thing in here is testing me. Nothing is straight. I'm using that 20x5. I've knocked up the plaster stiff. I'm using that 20x5 trowel as more of a rule, like floating than anything else. And as you can see, where it's deep in some areas here, where the light is catching it, we've got what I call a little bit of pudding going on, where it's sagging underneath its own wet weight. So, you know, I can't do anything with that. That will keep happening until the plaster starts picking up, and that's what I need to do. I need to start carving these walls out. Everything's tricky. Everything's hard in there. Nothing's straightforward. It's all pretend. It all requires the old tongue out and one eye shut when you're trying to get it in there. I'm very slow, deliberate movements just to keep everything square and straight, because there's so many angles in there. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back over all this and start flattening it in and get it into a better condition than it is now. Here we go, look, I've just been across all here and given this all a good flat, and it's looking much better. And all down here as well, it's all really thick, especially up here. But you know, look, with these 20x5 carbons, this is the deal we're getting. I've got to come to that trowel, I've got to come to that bead line, but look at these holes it's leaving. Okay, this is what we need to fill, because I've got, look at that, and also I need to come down this way. Okay, I need to fill that. This is why I've got a little bit left on my fork for picking things up like that. I can't do it at the moment, see, I'm collecting residue and using that as my fill. It's these holes, you've got to get these. And so it's very difficult because, you know, look, we've got the door here, we've got this, we're trying to build out, look how deep that bead is. Okay, we're trying to build this out and keep it all straight, and so all movements are so deliberate. I would never be able to do this with a perm shaped trowel. Never. It's just too curly. A little bit left in the walk. Very, very deliberate movements. Again and over again, we're getting things flat from the outset. We're not getting things smooth. We're wiggling those internals up. If you remember, there's a deficit up there. That for some reason there was a bit wide or something. I'm coming across this way. That needs filling up. The more you work this here, the more it loosens up, so you can. Let's get that internal to fill. A nice straight edge. All the architraves are on. I'm going to need to come up this way, and look, I don't want to dig into this because I've just straightened that out this way. So I'm using that bit there as my gauge where I need to be. This is why trowel lines where your toe, where your trowel is digging in, or the heel of the trowel is digging in. It's showing you a lot of contour lines, it's showing you where you need to straighten things out, where you need to apply more gear, where you need to shave bits off. A big bent perma-shaped boomerang or banana trowels they call them, just don't get the feedback from them because they don't leave any trowel lines. They make things look flat, but they never are. Not unless the surface you're going on is incredibly flat in the first place. And this is incredibly not flat in the first place. This gear is getting a bit stiff, so I'm having trouble. But everything, if all these are flat, all these reveals are really thick and are taking this much of attention. So there, look, you can see there's my level that I want to come to. So I don't want to dig in, I'm concentrating on not leaving trowel mark with that toe of the trowel down. I've got this internal out here up against this piece of architrave. That's why a little bit of a wiggle comes into play, because it squeezes the plaster right to the edge of the trowel. So we can get that. And then this piece is filling out, because if we keep coming this way, we're going to be curling around this way, yeah? So now we need to come up this way, and we're using again the toe of the trowel. That's our datum, it's almost like screeding. Concentrate on not leaving a trowel mark as best you can in here, where we've just straightened it out. And there is holes. So we're holding the trowel at an angle, more like using a rule. We're not flat at the moment, using that blade to really carve out and make things as flat as possible. Now that's a good wall to really demonstrate on, because if you're a follower of the channel you will know I'm always trying to use light sources to show up exactly what is going on. Now, if I just show you this here, so look, you can see again what I call pudding. So it's sagging under its own weight. Now I can trowel that and trowel that and trowel that. That's never going to go away. Don't play with it. Let it pick up, because otherwise, if you keep trying to trowel that, keep playing with it, you're going to upset the granules, the even distribution of the little granules, little grains in the plaster, and you start bringing the water to the surface and the smaller granules, and those ripples will be getting worse and worse and worse. Just leave it alone, let it pick up. It's only the first coat at the moment. There's another good bit of wall to demonstrate on, even though I'm in the light, look. So you can see how it is at the moment. We've got air holes and stuff like that, air bubbles. And we need to straighten stuff up. Now I've got this building up on my trowel, and that's what we're using to fill. See up in this internal, it needs tooling out. Again, I'm doing this with one hand. Hopefully I've got that in the right place. Look, that's a little bit better. We don't have to worry about this bleed over just at the moment. But coming into these internals. So the state of this looks a bit shy on the bead there. Get out on the light. Shy on the bead. Is that good? Okay, we've knocked up to put a second coat on, and it's nowhere near as much as we used to put the first coat on, because remember, a lot of this was all really deep. We had to pack out beads, etc. So a lot of the first coat, the quantity has been taken up in the depth. Now, because we spent so much time carving this out and getting this as flat as we can, it's picked up a little bit further, so it's able to hold itself. So when you've got pimples and stuff like this, it shouldn't bleed through into the laying down coat. And the laying down coat's been able to go on much thinner and much more regulated. A tight second coat is what you want if you want quality. I mean, some plasterers, they don't even bother flattening in the first coat at all, and that means, you know, when you put the second coat on, you're You're going to have thick bits and you're going to have thin bits, and you're going to have bits of that first coat bleeding through into the second coat, and then it's not until towards the end of the life of the wall. That's when you start opening your trowel up and start dealing with the flatness then. I like to get it flatter sooner, like straight from the outset. It just, as soon as you get it on, get it flat, and it just makes the next stage easier and easier and easier. If you don't do that, you always seem to be chasing the problem. I like to be in front of the problem, not chasing it. So the second coat has gone on, and as I predicted, it's gone on a lot better. I haven't flattened this in, this is how it's gone on. It's gone on a lot better than that first coat. We also had enough left over that I was able to get that little bit in there. I couldn't get the 20 in there. I did it with the 16-inch Rafina Superflex. But don't you love little bits like that when the architrave's on as well? Look, it makes things very enjoyable, doesn't it? And I also had enough to get this on. This bottom bit was floated down the bottom, and this is paint at the top, so we're looking a little bit tricky at the top, but I'm quite happy. We're in quite a good condition. Right, back to the 20, wet brush. I'm gonna start flattening this all in now. Okay, so wet brushing. Things like these internals, I've already given this a little brush, but look, this is why I use these smaller ones, because you can use it as a tool. I never use corner tools, yeah? This is my corner tool. And then, considering this is its first flatten done, I'll try and record at the same time. Yeah, a little wiggle. I've got it so flat in the first place, so I'm feeding some gear in there. That's the condition we get our internal in at this stage. Okay, so that first hit is done, and as I say, we squeezed this on the end, this, obviously, all this in here. This was done yesterday, that was done yesterday. We managed to get quite a decent job of this up here, inside here, which is extremely awkward, as you can see. All this around here, we managed to get that as well. Starting to set. So that leaves us this wall. Here we only have to come down halfway. That's where the work surface, the old work surface. And we only really need to come down halfway here as well. But I'm going to knock up a bag, and I'm going to come down a bit further, especially here on this edge. That looks like that's where a washing machine is going to go to me. That'll be the outlet. And I'm assuming the sink is going to go here. And then the only thing is, what we've all been waiting for, this is where the action is. We're going to get the underside of these arches done. Alright, let's get it on. No, I didn't miss it. Look, I've got it now. And also, stickers are off. crikey, that was a long one, wasn't it? Yeah, that last day, that second day, I think I used 2 bags all day long, and I was done about 4 o'clock, starting about 7:30, 8 o'clock, you know. So yeah, it just shows you, doesn't it? Was it 2 bags, was that 20 meters? So that's what we did. Tricky little room. What can I say about it? I've not much more. I've just watched a video for an hour about it. So thanks for watching. We'll get some more videos up again next week. Been a little bit quiet on the videos this week. Had some time off. Blah 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 blah. But if you want to engage with us a little bit more, do come over to the Facebook group Plaster Master Smurf 74. And if you want some other areas, more tuition or other plastering videos, we've got loads of stuff on the playlist now here on YouTube. So again, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Oh, and you know what? Don't forget to like and subscribe. The algorithm loves it. All right, take it easy. See you soon.